Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. It is a Pewter post-game show and a very happy one because the Bucs beat the curse. They have defeated the New Orleans Saints in the regular season by winning this Sunday afternoon's game 20-10, and it was heated. Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore got into a fight that expanded into a brawl. Both players were ejected. Emotions were running very, very high, to say the least. But the Bucs come out with the lead, with the win, 20-10, backed by another fantastic performance by the defense, which caused multiple turnovers. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joining with me is the face of PewterReport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. And Scott, my head is still spinning. I don't know about you, but that was a roller coaster of a game, especially in that second half.
Yeah, it really was, Matt. I'm just going to say this for everybody that can hear me, right? Finally, the Bucs beat the Saints. It felt good. It felt good to say that after 7 consecutive losses. This losing curse is over. Like you said, the Bucs brought their own voodoo down there. I think it was called Mike Evans off the top rope. Even Ric Flair was commenting on Mike Evans, his sensational performance today, smashing into Marshawn Lynch after Lynch and Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette got into it. And it seemed like, now the players and Todd Bowles were downplaying it, but it seemed like that fight between Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore really seemed to just spark the Buccaneers. Now, the Bucs defense was playing really well, but the offense was struggling. And the Saints defense, listen, give them credit. They've had the Buccaneers numbers for sure. I'm just telling you, though, that and I was concerned, right? Because the Buccaneers, they're already down Julio Jones. They're already down Chris Godwin. And Breshad Perriman was injured. Russell Gage had a hamstring. Mike Evans was injured himself. And I was thinking, oh, no. Mike Evans getting tossed from this game, not good. That's one less weapon Tom Brady has to throw to. Breshad Perriman stepping up big time for Tom Brady, getting a touchdown on the board. But it just seemed to bring more life and energy to this game when he and Marshon Lattimore got tossed. At first, I thought it would be advantage Saints. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, not having Lattimore in the game, too, kind of opened things up for Tom Brady a little bit in the passing game.
Yeah, it was wild, Scott, because, we talked a lot about this week that the Bucs were going to have to establish the run and run as effectively as they did against the Cowboys last Sunday. And that just clearly was not the case. They struggled a lot on the ground. Leonard Fournette led the way, 24 rushing attempts for 65 yards. So obviously not ideal there. And they actually passed the ball somewhat well. I think especially like early in the game when Tom Brady, fumbled on that third down and then they got stopped on the 4th and 1. They were actually moving the ball down the field. Again, very similar to the Cowboys game where they could move the ball down the field, just couldn't do anything in the red zone. But they had some key third down conversions. Scotty Miller made a nice catch on third down. There was another third down conversion that got them into the area. And then the House of Horrors started for the Bucs, whether it was a botched snap, whether it was 4th and 1, Luke Edeghi just not blocking anyone with the defender right there. And the Mike Evans moment, I guess we'll call it. Right. Again, crazy because it was so similar to the fight that he got with Marshon Lattimore a couple seasons ago when Jameis Winston tapped him on the helmet or whatever it was, and then he absolutely decked him. It was very similar with that, this time standing up for Leonard Fournette and Brady. But it took Lattimore out of the game and hurt Mike Evans. And that was such a Mike Evans moment too, because we obviously know Mike as the fun-loving, great guy, but he plays with an attitude.
He's the dog, though, man.
On the field. Because Scott, it was so funny. Like there was the huge fight and everything like that, and then you see him walking towards the locker room. He's like, giving it to the crowd as they're booing him, and then he stops, takes off his gloves, and gives it to a Bucs fan,
I
a
love
kid
that.
in the front row. I'm like, that's so Mike Evans.
It
That's the
is.
microcosm.
Well, he also
of who
saw
he is.
those fans wearing number 13 too, so he gravitated
Yeah.
towards that. Just to address this, we're going to talk plenty of defense. Trust me, right? I love defense, so of course we're going to get there. But just to finish up on the offense quickly here, Kenny Spendola asks, why is this offense struggling so much, not just today, but last week too? Well, first of all, give the Saints defense some credit. They just defend the Buccaneers better than any other team, so that's part of it. I'm going to go back to Tom Brady's press conference, and Matt, you were there, sat right next to me, with what he said on Thursday, right? Luke Gedeke, new. Robert Hainsey, new. Shaq Mason, new.
Yep.
Kate Otten, new. Kokeeft, new. Russell Gage, new. Julio Jones, even though he didn't play, new. Josh Wells,
White,
new. Rashad White, new. Oh, Brandon Walton, he didn't say that. I'm saying that. Brandon Walton, new. The Bucs were down to their third string left tackle today. And Brandon Walton, to his credit, played a really good game. I thought Josh Wells did okay while he was in there too. But it's just there's so much newness on this Bucs offense. It's going to take some time for this offense to come together and gel. And even Todd Bowles said after the game in his post-game press conference, they got to get healthy on offense. It's a banged up unit right now. But I wrote about this at the end of the week. I think it was Friday or Saturday. This Bucs defense is going to have to carry the offense. So this is not anything new to the Pewter Report staff. We've talked about this internally. This is the kind of defense the Bucs are going to have to play to carry this offense. Reminds me an awful lot of 2002 when John Gruden came, totally revamped that offense and brought in all the new personnel. Michael Pittman, Roman Oben, Kerry Jenkins, Ken Dilger, Keenan McCardell, Joe Jaravicius, Ricky Dudley, right? So there were so many new pieces on that offense for Brad Johnson to have to throw to and operate with, that it just took some time, and the Bucs defense had to assert itself. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. The Bucs defense, there's a couple of new pieces, right? Akeem Hicks, he got dinged up in this game. Logan Ryan, who had a huge
clutch
fumble.
Changed everything.
But Matt, it's just going to take some time, and this defense has got to play this way early in the season. We've talked about this, and I'm telling you, it's right on schedule. This Bucs defense, they're the league's top scoring defense after 2 games, only allowing 13 points. And boy, the takeaways today, right? 5 takeaways, including 3 interceptions on Jameis Winston, including a Mike Edwards interception, a pick 6. Should we be surprised by Mike Edwards getting a pick 6, Matt?
No, absolutely not. I actually said, before the season that Mike Edwards was probably the player that I'm most excited to watch because he's going to be expanded into that starting role. And then it was funny. I was talking with Casey Hudson during the live stream that we had going on. And thank you, Leo, very much for the $5 super chat. He says,
Appreciate
Evans
you,
and Lattimore will be fined. No suspensions. Lattimore punched Fournette, which started the brawl. We'll see what happens with that. But with Mike Edwards, it was funny. I was talking with Casey during the live stream, and I said Edwards so far through a game and a half has, he's been solid, it's been big day. He's done a game. We haven't seen the splashy Mike Edwards that, put him on everyone's radar and got him the ball hawk nickname. And then, couple moments later on in the game, has that big pick 6 that essentially sealed the game. The Bucs picked off Jameis Winston 3 times. As exciting as the Mike Edwards interception was, Scott, the first interception by Jamel Dean, don't make a scene, it's just Dean. We've talked so much about the Bucs secondary, how they get PBUs, they do a good job there, but they have to start getting those interceptions. And I mean, that was a deep ball down the field. Jameis tried time and time again to throw the deep ball to Chris Olave, and it was great coverage by Jamel Dean.
Have we seen that, Bucs fans? Jameis Winston not hitting open deep receivers? Have we seen that? Have we seen some interceptions in bunches in the fourth quarter? Have we seen some pick 6s from Jameis Winston? Yes, we have. Jameis has returned. Oh, Jameis is back.
Yeah, you had a very funny tweet. I didn't see it until 10 minutes later after you tweeted it, but it was in all caps, and he said, "Old Jameis is back." And yeah, he really was. I mean, if you want to give him credit for playing through a very tough injury, sure, there's something to be said about that. But yeah, it was just everything you said. It came in bunches. It came late in the clutch moments of the game. Let's remember, Jamel Dean's interception immediately obviously gave the Bucs the ball, but immediately led to a touchdown on that drive. So
Yeah.
it was a very, very important drive, especially for the Bucs offense that struggled for most of the game. They were still able to move the ball 80 yards down the field,
Yeah.
After that touchback for the interception. So as important as it was to get the ball back, I think it was a momentum shift because it wasn't that long after the fight with Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore. If anything, it's that momentum shift, that kicking the pants that the Bucs offense kind of needed a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, things just kept
Matt,
rolling for the Bucs after that.
You're talking about a kick in the pants, and there's nothing that will give you a kick in the pants more than Celsius. That's right. It's the official energy drink of Pewter Report and the proud sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast, Celsius. 7 essential vitamins, and what makes it so special is you have all of the taste and all of the flavor. Look at all those flavors. Wild berry, orange, which is one of my favorites. They have a peach mango green tea, tropical vibe. Did I mention vibe? The Arctic vibe really hits, man. That's good. The new Arctic vibe, the peach vibe, watermelon, which is Ashley's favorite. So many great flavors. But one of the best things about Celsius is you get all of the energy. That's right. Go to your local bodega, as Matt Matera says. All of the great flavor and the energy that you want without the sugar crash later. Why? Because there's no sugar. There's no preservatives. Folks, if you're not on the Celsius train, there's still plenty of room. Grab your ticket and go, man. Get on that Celsius train. I have Celsius every morning. It's replaced coffee. I haven't had coffee in the longest time. It's a great starter to your day. It's a great pick-me-up in the afternoon. It's great before you go to the gym. And where can you get it? Well, go to Celsius.com. Click on the store locator. You'll find it in fitness stores near you, convenience stores, bodegas, as Matt would say, grocery stores carry it. And then grab a couple cans. Try the different flavors. Or as Matt says, go to Amazon.com. Click on Amazon.com on that subscribe and save. Maybe try the variety pack, because variety is the spice of life. Get the variety pack, have it shipped to your house, and use the subscribe and save option. You can save some money, and you get it shipped right to your door. It's absolutely awesome. Do we have Josh Capo in the house?
I think we do.
I think we do.
I believe you have me.
All right, there he is. How are we doing, man?
Yeah.
Oh man, this was something. That I love. Here's a tropical right there. I had this morning. This is so good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, and I would be. I'm not going to say that they had it, but the Buccaneers defense certainly played like they were on Celsius today. The way they were flying around, getting all those sacks and fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, interceptions, pick sixes. Josh Capo, what stood out to you about this game the most initially?
I think you nailed it. I think it was the turnovers. It was something I certainly was looking for coming into the game. I think I put it in my Pewter Report predictions. Is Tampa Bay and New Orleans has come down to turnovers quite a bit over the recent history, and I banked on the quarterback with the better record when it comes to turnovers. and as you put it, Jameis is going to Jameis, and he certainly Jameis quite a bit today.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think too, when you look at this defense, right, and they want to get more interceptions, that's something that they were saying even before training camp started. And interceptions can come in bunches. We've seen that. We saw that today. And I just think there's so much momentum now on the defensive side of the ball. And if you look at the stats real quick, right, offensively, I'm going to liken it like this. The Bucs offense was the jab, right? You kind of jabbed the Saints all day. You ran Leonard Fournette, and I'll say this: it wasn't sexy. It wasn't as prominent as it was last week. You didn't see the big runs. Give the Saints defense some credit. Give Byron Leftwich some of the blame, guys, for being a little too predictable with some of those first down runs. I didn't think that they helped Leonard Fournette and the offensive line out at all. Did not like some of the third and short, or even that fourth and short play call. That being said, this was a safe, efficient game for Tom Brady. I can't recall any of his passes that were close to being intercepted. He did have the fumble. That was just a snap issue in the first half. They were able to get past that. But we didn't see Brady in this offense turn the ball over. We saw Jameis Winston and the Saints turn the ball over a lot. And it just seemed to me, Matt, when when Jameis Winston threw that touchdown pass to Breshad Perriman, you could just see and feel Jameis start to press. And when that happens, we know what happens. Bad things to the offense.
Yeah.
And thankfully it wasn't the Bucs offense this time. It was the Saints offense. But you could just kind of smell that blood in the water. And you just saw Todd Bowles' Sharks swimming around the Superdome and just going in for the kill once Jameis started to press.
Yeah, because the Saints were finally put in a position where they had to throw the ball. You know, they had the very effectively against the Bucs defense, which was very surprising to everyone. And they were mixing in a lot of their running backs, but you know, when they finally started going down, the Bucs could just pin their ears back and get after Jameis. And you know, Jameis, obviously, we talked about, he struggled with the deep ball to Olave all game. Occasionally, he had some good passes over, you know, to the intermediate routes, like when Michael Thomas or whoever would find a sweet spot in the zone. But a lot of the time, Jameis was kind of just dumping it off these short 5 to 7 yard routes. So didn't really have to push the ball too much. But I think the Bucs did a great job. Michael Thomas, he didn't do one in that last, you know, garbage time touchdown when he's screaming at Carlton Davis, even though, you know, you're down by multiple scores. I think they did a great job of limiting him. And then obviously Jameis couldn't connect on the deep ball. So, you know, the Bucs were just able to do their thing. 6 sacks in the game, 2 by Shaq Barrett, 1 by Devin White. Antoine Winfield Jr. was credited with 1. Levante David got 1. And then Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and Vita Vea each had a half sack. So obviously they got to him a lot, but the pressure I felt was there for a majority of the game that made Jameis uncomfortable, had to throw it. I think that really contributed to Jameis's second interception to Jamel Dean when it was an overthrow and Dean made the diving catch because he was rattled there. They did a great job of getting in his face. And, you know, right now, the Bucs are only losing. The Bucs defense is only losing to the Bucs offense by 1 touchdown. It's 2 touchdowns to 1, the Bucs offense versus the Bucs defense. So a very closely contested battle.
I was going to say the other one I like to throw out there, Matt, and I think I tweeted it just a little while ago. Really, the only defense allowing less points per game right now is the University of Georgia. It's like 3.3 for them and 6.5 for the Bucs. So they're an elite company in terms of
they are
limiting
national champion. Go Dogs! Yeah, Josh, you know, you bring up a good point about this defense, and when you and I were in Tennessee, right, we saw Devin White playing so under control. Watching those joint practices against the Titans, it was like a carbon copy of what we saw the previous week, Matt, in Tampa against the Dolphins. He's just become a player who's more under control now. He missed some tackles today, right? And he kind of missed 1 sack opportunity that Vita Vea and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka were able to split. But I also thought, too, credit for Jameis Winston for ducking out of that sack. He maybe all those wacky, crazy offseason drills he does worked on that play. But White did set up his teammates for that sack, but yet he adds another sack. And Josh, for a guy that had 3.5 sacks last year, Devin White, a more under control Devin White, again, missed some tackles today. I don't think it was as clean of a game as it was last week against the Dallas Cowboys, but still 11 tackles, very productive. I thought he played very well in zone coverage, but when called on to blitz, added another sack to the total. He's already got 3 this year. His season high was 9 back in the 2020 season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go back to last season and kind of where the Bucs pass defense struggled, it was a lot of stuff over the middle. And that was because a lot of times Devin White was out of position. You're just not seeing it this year. The Dallas hasn't been able to take advantage of it. New Orleans hasn't been able to take advantage of it. And it's a big reason why the Bucs defense is getting off the field on 3rd downs. And it all comes back to that position. And he's doing an incredible job. He has been a linchpin for them. Yeah,
there's no doubt. You know, one of the interesting things too was the fact that after the game, Devin White was asked by Aaron Andrews about the win, and obviously, right, he was super excited to get this win and to see the defense play so well, getting those sacks, 6 sacks, 5 takeaways, including Carlton Davis, who made a very heady play when Chris Olave finally caught a deep ball, had a step on Carlton Davis, been a rookie mistake, not tucking the ball down. The ground caused the fumble, but it still counted because he wasn't touched down yet. Carlton Davis was there to jump on it. But the interesting thing, Matt, is what Devin White said after the game was, you know, he was still pretty ticked off about allowing too many rushing yards. And this is a real listen, when you're at this level, right? When you finally beat the Saints 20-10 in convincing fashion in the second half, and you get a pick six and you get all those interceptions, sacks, you create the takeaways on defense, you're having a day. You get to beat your chest a little bit. But I saw a lot of maturity from Devin White saying, yeah, we got to go back and into the lab and clean up some things in the run game. The Buccaneers, let's see, they allowed
no, the run game was not good. If you're going to nitpick the Bucs defense, stopping
just
the
under
run.
20 carries for 102 yards overall. Mark Ingram, who was the big engine for them, was 10 carries for 60 yards.
Yeah.
So he went off for six yards a clip.
Yeah. But still at the same time, it wasn't fatal, right? I mean, it wasn't like this team couldn't stop the run. I think a lot of those runs happened in the first half and the second half, even when it was a close game. I think they did a much better job shutting down Taysom Hill. He was a non-factor today, and then getting after it for Ingram. But I want to say probably 30 or 40 of those yards came on the first drive of the Saints, and then the Bucs kind of buttoned things down. It's interesting because I don't think Akeem Hicks has played very well the first 2 weeks against the run. Teams have been running to their right against the Bucs' left side of the defensive line. I actually thought they played better when Nacho was in there, and he's a run stuffer. That's his job. But I thought they played better than when Akeem Hicks was in there.
Yeah, I think you can make that case. And I don't think Akeem Hicks has played bad by any means. And obviously he left this game early with an injury. I just think, again, it goes back to that he was so hyped up in the preseason and training camp by us, by, the Bucs brass. It wasn't like this came out of thin air, He had been impressing a lot of people. So the fact that while we saw it in training camp in the preseason, we didn't necessarily see it last Sunday night or in this game before he got hurt, it does bring a little cause for concern. But I thought, obviously, when Hicks got out of the game, that meant more snaps for Logan Hall. Nacho got more opportunities. Will Golston was utilized a lot. And I thought they did a good job of, keeping it together. We've seen pick things up when other guys leave. And I'm not talking about, last year with the corners. That was a completely different situation with guys getting hurt literally every single time. But I think, whether it's Donovan Smith not being available or Hicks leaving the game or Mike Evans getting ejected, the Bucs showed that they have resiliency, that they can, pick up the slack when the going gets tough, because make no bones about it, this was an extremely gutsy performance from Wells going in there, and then he gets hurt, getting down to your third string offensive tackle, and still doing enough to come away with the win, not just against a good team, but a team that has had your number. We've talked about it a ton. It wasn't just a win, it was a convincing, gutsy, grind it out, muck it up type of game that we've been talking about. So I tip my cap to the Bucs, man, because things were ugly, things were not going their way. The refs were horrible, calling a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Levante David for a pretty clear cut play. So things didn't always go their way. Brady was slamming the tablet and everything like that, but at the end of the day, they were able to pull it off.
Josh, I'm going to say this, and I want you to react to this. Right, there was a kicking competition this year in training camp in the preseason. We were there in Tennessee when Suckup nailed that huge kick, former Titans player, and he actually had a pretty good practice against Tennessee as well.
He did.
And the Buccaneers made the decision to go with old man Suckup one more year. Right, he's 36 years old, and he has been clutch so far. Granted, the 36 yard miss in week one. He made 4 out of the 5. I'm going to give him credit for the 4 he made. I know the one that he missed in Dallas he wants to have back. But in this game, when points are at a premium on the offense, he goes out there and nails 2 clutch kicks, right? He nails that kick just to tie it up, and it's a 47-yarder that's really kind of pushing his range a little bit. And Josh, if he misses that kick, that has a potential to be a real deflator for the Bucs offense, right?
Yep. Absolutely. And he nailed it. I mean, it was right through the uprights. And I made a comment about it. His leg looks stronger this year. It looked stronger when we were out in camp. And it certainly looked stronger because that 47-yarder cleared by quite a bit. He probably could have made that from 50 and beyond. So you have the experience that you mentioned. Suckup's done it on the biggest stage. He's hit him in the Super Bowl. We know that for the most part, inside of 45, he's just about automatic. And he's showing that, he can still get it from, probably not the same range as some of these other kickers going 60 plus, or their teams trying to.
Oh my God. Whoa. What a stat.
There you go.
We got to
Tom.
make sure
Holy
Bailey gets that for the record book watch.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Jameis Winston with another milestone.
Wow.
Pick 6 by all 4 NFC South teams. Wow. That is something.
He's going to be all over the record books.
Yes. Yeah.
One way or another.
Not in a good, one way or another. Not in a good way. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to laugh over your commentary. That was good
that's
stuff.
okay.
That
was
was a hell of a stat right there.
Funny is funny.
Yeah.
No, but I think Suckup, he was nails. He was exactly what the Bucs needed, because if he misses that one, or if you have, a rookie kicker, and Morgalis wasn't a rookie, but a young kicker who hasn't really been proven, that's as high stakes as you're probably going to get in the preseason when you consider the divisional matchup, the fact that the Bucs haven't won in a while, the fact that just weird stuff kept happening. That takes a lot of nerves to be able to just go out there and put it through. And Suckup did his job,
because it can be such a deflator. And then he goes out there, right? They get the touchdown, the Breshad Perriman, right? And you gotta keep that margin at 7 points. Right now it's 10-3, right? So you can't miss. And he didn't.
That
he made the extra point.
Great Breshad Perriman. I will.
That's
say
right.
that.
Yes, charge on. Yeah, Bailey Adamson, Casey Hudson, like that. And then he makes another 47-yard field goal. Oh man, Suckup with this strong leg, right? 47-yard field goal again to now push the score to 13-3. And I just think the Buccaneers just elevate from that, right? That's more points. Again, points are at a premium. They know that against the Saints defense. The Saints defense held them without a single point the last time they played, and that was at Raymond James Stadium in December. So they're going to take the points any way they can get them. And Suckup delivered today, 2 field goals and an extra point, and that just seemed to just buoy this defense and put them in attack mode and really force Jameis Winston to press.
Yeah, without question. And yeah, for Suckup, like you said, they were long field goals. They were both 47-yarders, so not exactly in his wheelhouse. And yeah, especially once he made it a 2-possession game, when he hit that field goal to make it 13-3, I was thinking, just with the way the Bucs defense was playing, anything could happen. Olave got deep on that one play. He ended up fumbling it. But again, sometimes mistakes happen where I could see, New Orleans scoring a touchdown or getting another score, even as well as the Bucs defense played. But I was thinking, as long as it's a 2-possession game, the Bucs are going to hold on to this, because they started doing enough on offense where they were, moving it somewhat, got them into a bunch of third and manageables when they weren't getting holding penalties or whatever it may be. But Breshad Perriman scoring that touchdown. I mean, there was many other times. Perriman ended the game, I believe, with 3 catches for 45 yards and that touchdown. Obviously, a big chunk of his receiving yards was on that touchdown. But he had a couple other plays where it went incomplete to him. There's that big one on 3rd down. As they were trying to run down the clock.
And again, good play by the Saints defense, punching that out of his hands, right? I mean, that was a great throw and catch there. I
was surprised when he ended up making the catch. I was like, I've seen this before. It gets close to him and hits him in the hands, and it's done. But I mean, Breshad Perriman was a guy that was injured for the majority of training camp. Yeah. And a lot of us, I've been very harsh on Breshad Perriman. I'm not afraid to admit it. I didn't really want him on the Bucs, and I was questioning, why is he on this team? I understand he still has speed and the prototypical size, but what has he really done that has earned him a role on this team? But you know what? He shut me up, made a great catch in such a pivotal moment. So shout out to him for making that play. But I was so surprised when it happened, and then defense did the rest from there.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. Josh, before you came on, Matt and I were talking about the Mike Evans, Marshon, Lattimore. I don't know if this is round 3, round 4. I don't know what round we're in now between those guys pushing and shoving and punching and body slamming and all this. But what did you make of that? It just seemed to us like it sparked the Buccaneers a little bit, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it was a galvanizing moment, because if you go back and you look at it, Mike wasn't doing it out of frustration because Lattimore was shutting him down.
Right.
He was doing it for the same reason they got into their first fight when Lattimore was going after his quarterback.
Yeah.
And Mike Evans has shown that you don't mess with my quarterback. And so for him to come out and just take him, and there's somebody else. I mean, he ended up taking 2 Saints to the ground with him, Lattimore and someone else.
Marcus May.
Marcus May, that's right. Yeah. Just bringing them both together. I think that lit a fire under the rest of the team's ass. You know, we've got to do something and not let all of this emotion go to waste. So absolutely, I think that, you know, you give him a game ball for it.
I totally agree. Brian Shaw, we appreciate the $10 super chat. Great game day live stream today. Well, yeah, listen, we have Matt Matera and Casey Hudson doing it for one reason, folks, because they're the absolute best. I mean, their commentary is fantastic. Got some great reviews last week. And the great thing about this is next week, we're going to do it again. And this time it's going to be in Tampa when the Green Bay Packers come to the Buccaneers' house for what could be another interesting game with another pick six, right? Because Jamel Dean had a pick six the last time Aaron Rodgers was in town. So we might see back-to-back pick sixes again. But you want to make sure that you tune in to Pewter Game Day. And that happens at 4:25. That's the live in-game analysis with Matt and Casey. They're going to give you all the action and all the commentary throughout the entire game. Matt's a little hoarse just about because he had so much fun doing it today. But before we get to Pewter Game Day, we do this fun thing called the Pewter Report Tailgate Show, the Celsius Pewter Report Tailgate Show. And that is presented by Age Rejuvenation live at Walk-Ons. We were at the Walk-Ons in Midtown today, and it was a blast. Buccaneer fans galore down there, TVs. It's a fantastic spot to watch the game. I've never been to a sports bar that had more TVs than Walk-Ons, both the Midtown Tampa location and the Wesley Chapel location. We're going to be at Wesley Chapel with J.C. Allen and Bailey Adams and John Gilmore next Sunday, and that's going to be right before Pewter Game Day. So it's going to take place at 2:30. We do 2 hours prior to kickoff, again, presented by Age Rejuvenation. So appreciate everybody going down to the Midtown location today. Make sure you join us at the Wesley Chapel Walk-Ons. We're going to give you a free Celsius when you come too. You can't beat that. And make sure that you are stay tuned to pewterreport.com for the Bucs coverage that we do. We think it's the best Bucs coverage out there. Breaking news, inside scoop, game coverage. You guys want some game coverage? This is the place to go. Expert analysis and free agency and draft coverage. We cover the Bucs year round. So make sure if you're a fan of the Pewter Report podcasts and Pewter Report Tailgate Show and Game Day, make sure that you get off of our YouTube stream. And we love when you're there, Pewter Report TV on YouTube. But go to our website, pewterreport.com. We have Bucs most impressive and disappointing. We've got the game story. I'll have my 2-point conversion post-game column up shortly. So make sure you're checking out our coverage on our website, pewterreport.com.
Yeah, thanks again to Brian for the super chat. He was very interactive during the live game day stream and watching now. So shout out to Brian. Thanks for all your involvement and being a fan of pewterreport.com. We have another super chat here from Marquise Davis. Thanks a lot, Marquise, for the $5 super chat. He says, Bucs need to get healthy on offense. People are going to look at Brady's stats and say he has been bad so far this year, but that is not the story. I agree with that. I mean, there were a couple of throws today. There were 2 that went off the hands of Scotty Miller, who Scotty Miller is quickly turning into the new Jalen Darden with just falling all over the place, being on roller skates. It was like, come on, Scotty, like stay up. You know, he finally got his opportunity and he did make some nice catches. You know, he had the 3rd down catch in the first half. He caught another ball over the middle that helped get the Bucs a first down. So Scotty was up and down, but yeah, there were a couple where, you know, Fox had it dialed in where anytime anything happened to the Bucs offense, they immediately cut the camera to Tom Brady, and it was either dropping an F-bomb, screaming at someone, rolling his eyes, like whoever. I'm sure they just went to one person.
Leadership.
It's
leadership.
The only time he didn't was on the fumbled snap, which I take is that was on him. It wasn't on Hainsey.
Yeah,
that's what I'm curious about. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Josh. When you look at Tom Brady and the Buccaneers winning this way, it just reminds me of, and if J.C. Allen was here, him being the former Patriots fan, I say former because, you know, I mean, the Bucs are better than the Patriots. But this is how Brady has won games up there in New England, right? When he didn't have all of the weapons on offense. I'm not talking about his 5,000-yard passing year when they went undefeated and he's throwing 100 touchdowns to Randy Moss that season. I'm talking about there are some times where the weather's been inclement. They've had to run the ball and play efficient football, and he's got maybe one touchdown and no interceptions, and the defense goes out there and makes some plays and wins the game. And for as prolific as a passer as Tom Brady is, Josh, he wants to win. He's also the most prolific winner, and he will win at age 45 doing whatever it takes to win, whether he's throwing for 400 yards or whether he's throwing for just under 200 yards, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. His biggest goal is to get the W. I think the frustration that he showed throughout the day is because the process didn't always match what the result ended up being. There were lots of people who just didn't do their jobs on a lot of different plays. And that's where the frustration came from. I think he left a lot out there. Matt mentioned the couple of throws to Scotty. He got open. He just couldn't catch the ball. There were some opportunities for the score to be a lot higher. And what's interesting was most of that came through the air. They moved the ball a lot more on the air than they did in the ground. And it just goes to show you to the super chat. Brady played really well. Right. He just got let down by this here, that there. It just throughout the entire game. And you could see the frustration boiling over on him. And then towards the end there, I think it was right after the Evans fight, he was letting his offense have it, saying this ends now. We are going down the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
He wasn't happy either, like in the post-game press conference. I mean, we had it recorded. I think it was under 2 minutes. And, usually you hear someone from the Bucs PR staff say, like, last question. No, Tom Brady was doing it. He was like, all right, last question, you. Like, go and ask whatever you want to ask. So he was not very happy after the game either. But I was also saying this: Tom's usually not happy when you show him playing until the clock hits 0 and his team has more points than the opponent.
Intense guy, and he brings that picture was against the Cowboys last week, right? I mean, he just listen. He knows Ali Marpet is gone, right? Ryan Jensen is gone, and Donovan Smith today was gone. He's playing. He's the lone. He and Mike Evans were like the lone varsity kids, right? And it's like the flu hit the varsity team, and they had to bring up all the JV guys, all the freshmen and sophomores to play in this game, right? And he's not real happy about it. He'd rather be playing with all of his fellow seniors out there, right? And being at full strength and having it be easier and more fun when you're throwing touchdowns, right? Than having to get off the field and punt on 4th down. And I just think that sometimes like that intensity spills over, and it's just leadership. He's willing that offense. He's squeezing every bit of productivity out of a guy like Robert Hainsey in his second start, Luke Gedeke in his second start, Brandon Walton, who's in there in an emergency, oh shit situation, right?
And did really well.
He did.
I think it's interesting when you look at this versus the Dallas game. There are two things that kind of were flipped. The Saints got, in terms of their passing game, Olave got open. Jameis just couldn't get to him. And the back end, the coverage was good, but it wasn't as great as it was in Dallas. But then you had a much better pressure package, which was great this week versus good last week, right? And then you look at the offense, and you were talking about Brady squeezing everything out. That offensive line balled out from a pass protection standpoint for the most part. But then versus last week when they were elite in run blocking, they struggled. So the teams basically showed they can win in almost every different way. Let's just hope we can see it all put together. And instead of a low scoring 19 or 20 points for the good guys and less than 5 for the bad guys, it just goes to like 38-0.
Yeah. And that's what makes me so excited about this Bucs offense. And Brady's talked about it. They're a work in progress right now. They are clearly not at the potential that they can get to with all of the weapons that they have, even if Julio is injured and, Russell Gage is playing on one hamstring. Mike Evans leaves at, halfway through the game because he gets into a fight. There's still so much potential for this offense that when they do figure it out, and sure, it'll take time, but when they do start, firing on all cylinders and it's all one great fell swoop of, just on point production for the Bucs offense, they're going to be even tougher to beat, because there will be a game where Brady might have to air it out. They can get it done that way. They can be efficient running the ball when they really could. It was a struggle today, but Josh, as you said, they were great last week, where this week they showed that they could actually pass block, despite the fact that the Saints have, a really difficult defensive front to go and play against. So I'm very excited when we start watching them hit their stride, and they're already 2-0. It's going to cause a ton of issues for all the opponents around them, because the defense is winning the games for them right now. And barring like major injuries, I don't see this defense slowing down at all whatsoever. So once the offense gets onto their level, I mean, forget about it. This is definitely a team that has a great chance of getting the number 1 seed. I know it's very early in the season, but, 2 wins in the NFC South. The NFC Conference. First place in the NFC South after a win today. I mean, if they take care of business against the Packers next week, they're going to have a lot of tiebreakers against teams that, are also really in the running before, preseason heading to the season, that many thought could get the number 1 seed. It's the Packers, Rams. They'll be able to control that destiny when they play against them, and Saints and the Cowboys before Dak got hurt. These are all teams that had potential to get the number 1 seed. But when the dust settles, it looks like it's the Bucs that are in the driver's seat early on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of football to be played, but you're right though. It's better. You're better to be 2-0 than 0-2. Statistics and history will show you that your chances of making the playoffs historically are much better if that's the case. And I like the fact that the Buccaneers already have that early 1-0 lead in the NFC South over the Saints. Take some pressure, I think, off of the Buccaneers, who honestly have played better, guys, in New Orleans than they have at home.
Yeah.
Remember, they didn't score a single point last year in that 9-0 weird bloodbath that happened in December, where Chris Godwin was taken out, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, Levante David hurt his foot at the end of the game. It was just a weird, wacky game. The defense played well. Bucs offense couldn't score a point. Then the year prior, in 2020, on Sunday Night Football, a shellacking 38-3. I would say probably Tom Brady's worst game as a Buccaneer. Right, he was awful in that game. The whole offense was terrible. I think the Bucs set a franchise record for running the ball for the fewest amount of yards in that game. Awful coaching, awful execution on both sides of the ball. So it does take some pressure off. At least they've swept at the Saints. And Matt, when you look at this start, right, I think everybody in their mind, now not the Buccaneers, they want to win every game. They always want to be 1-0, and that's how football is played. But Matt, when you look at this gauntlet of a season, right, what do we say? You got to be at least 2-2 out of these 4 games to start. And now they've at least achieved that, right? And they've got these next 2 games against the Packers and the Chiefs at home, where they've actually played really well. They set a franchise record for most home wins last year. So let's hope that continues and Raymond James Stadium can continue to be defended by these Buccaneers.
Without question, that was the major goal that we talked about, splitting the first 4 games of the season. So you can check that one in the box. Already did that. And, with these next 2 games at home, the Bucs, no intent playing at home, but they're playing with house money because they already accomplished that goal of splitting, or at least going 2-0 and potentially could go 4-0. And, it'll be very interesting. Obviously, 2 tough opponents with the Chiefs. Everyone remembers the regular season game 2 years ago against the Chiefs, and then obviously the Super Bowl. Different looking team, but same scheme. Obviously, they don't have Tyreek Hill, and but they have a couple of players in there. I'm very curious to see what the Packers do tonight, because they obviously look terrible in the first game of the season, getting shellacked by the Minnesota Vikings. But also, we saw that last year when Jameis threw 5 touchdowns against the Packers in week 1. So it very much could be something where they just bounce back in week 2. But, Aaron Rodgers said that he admires Todd Bowles. He's like one of the most creative defensive play callers and now head coaches that he's gone up against. And, the Bucs have had the Packers number. We talked a lot about how the Saints have always gotten the better of the Bucs. But, since Tom Brady came to Tampa, they have 2 wins over the Packers. So obviously the Packers will be looking for some revenge. But I like where this team is, because they're obviously led first by the defense, which you're going to need that against Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. And we'll watch the Packers defense, but the Packers defense is not as daunting as the Saints defense, I would say. And the same thing goes for the Kansas City Chiefs. So they got through the tough part, especially offensively wise. We knew there was going to be struggles. the next 2 weeks, very important games where you're going to need your offense in a little more tip-top shape. I think these are two defenses that, maybe we won't see the Bucs score 30 points, but they'll be more efficient in the red zone and, pick up their end of the bargain a little bit.
Yeah. Scott, I think the interesting thing that you mentioned there was that these were 2 road wins and that the Bucs performed well last year at home. And you talk to most people when they in the NFL and they look at like an entire schedule, they say, you want to win all your home games and then split your road games.
Yep.
And the Bucs have 8 road games this year. They're now 2-0. Now listen to their road opponents for the rest of the season. At Pittsburgh, that may be tough because Pittsburgh's defense is always tough.
Yeah.
At Carolina, at Cleveland, I'm sorry, Matt, they gave the game away to the Jets.
Hey, a win is a win.
Absolutely.
1-0 in their last one. The Jets.
There you go. But that's going to be a Deshaun Watson-less Cleveland. That's the last game before he comes back. Then they've got the 49ers, which will be tough, but then Arizona, which tends to fold at the end of the season, and then Atlanta. Yep. They've passed 2 of the hardest road tests. They got it out of the way, and now they're 2-0. And you talk about splitting. I mean, now you're talking about what kind of a winning record can we have on the road? That's huge. Yeah,
that is. And the other thing that was huge was Devin White at the end of the game in his post game was talking to Aaron Andrews from Fox, and he was throwing a little shade on Jameis Winston after the game. So make sure you go to pewterreport.com. We have that story up right now. Devin White, actually, I'm going to put it in the chat here. Y'all can check it out. But Devin White was throwing some shade at the Jameis Winston, and why not? I mean, Jameis was very polite to Tampa Bay today with all those gifts. And when you're a host, you want to be hospitable, right? And give your guests, treat them well. And Jameis did that today. So Devin White throwing the Bucs, or I should say the Saints quarterback, former Bucs quarterback Jameis Winston, throwing some shade his way. And Matt, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the place to go for shade really is not just Devin White in Tampa. It is Florida Lanai curtains, right? And Florida Lanai curtains, folks, I have got Florida Lanai curtains at my house. It's been a tremendous investment, and I, it's really transformed my backyard. It's given me privacy. It's made things cooler. And listen, when you live in Florida, right, that comes with the territory. We love the warm weather, but the 2 biggest complaints about spending time outside in Florida is the lack of privacy, where these homes now, and even my house, is they're built right on top of each other, right? You had neighbors like 10 feet away. And also the Florida heat. It's brutal, even into October and November. So the lack of privacy and too much sun, don't let that drive you indoors and keep you from your pool and your screened in lanai and your enclosures and those outdoor spaces that you want to enjoy. The Florida Lanai curtains solution is the privacy on demand patented outdoor privacy curtain system and the custom made screen enclosure shade sails. The flexible installation options and the high quality products give you privacy and shade just where you need them. Privacy on demand outdoor curtains are made from the well-known Sunbrella brand Marine Canvas, backed by a 10-year fade-free warranty. When you see marine canvas on boats, it's the same type of material. And that's really what sold me, is because this is going to hold up to the thunderstorms, the high winds, the sun in Florida, and it's going to last. It comes with a 10-year fade-free warranty, and it's available in over 100 colors to enhance the look and comfort of your outdoor space and match your backyard. Their unique shade sails are made from the Sola Mesh product, which has a 10-year warranty against degradation, and they're built to give you shade and UV protection in your backyard for years to come. If you need privacy or shade and you want more freedom to enjoy your outdoor spaces, visit Florida Lanai Curtains website at lanai-curtains.com. Make sure that you're helping support Pewter Report's podcast by clicking on places like Lanai Curtains and buying Celsius and all of these great sponsors that help bring the Pewter Report podcast to you, Pewter people. Go to Florida Lanai Curtains and check out their amazing custom products. Do your own hassle-free instant online estimate. It's a great investment for your home, folks. Do what I did. Call them at 813-337-2511 or schedule a free in-home consultation. That's Florida Lanai Curtains at lanai-curtains.com.
I'm
So-
curious. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, so Devin White, not the only guy throwing shade. We got Florida Lanai Curtains doing that too.
I had a question for you two, if you would indulge me. Considering all the injuries at wide receiver that the Bucs have been battling, I think there's no question that Lattimore and Evans are going to receive fines for what happened today. But I'm going to ask the scary question. Do we think Evans gets suspended for this?
It's a fair question and
Yeah.
a good question. I could see him maybe getting one game, but I think, there's always the appeal process and things like that. I would just be like, hey, listen, just give me a hefty fine.
Yeah.
You fine me anyway when I throw the football into the end zone after
Right.
scoring a touchdown. I'm happy to give away some money, give it to a charity, give it to the Mike Evans. That's what he should do. He should get a hefty fine, and then the NFL can give it to the Mike Evans Family Foundation. I'd be like, see, listen, I gave the glove to the kids after I left the game. I'm trying to do right by everyone else. So I think it'll be a hefty fine.
Here's my take on it. I don't think Lattimore or Evans should be suspended at all. I think fine them if you want, hefty fines, $50,000, $100,000. I don't care. But the NFL is screwing up its own product so much, and it does it on the regular, right? The NFL now, they're trying to legislate physicality out of the game. We saw it once with the Saints call. That was kind of a makeup call. We saw it twice in Tampa Bay on the Levante David sack when Keanu Neal came in on Jameis like a split second late and was whistled for an unsportsmanlike conduct. We saw Levante David get that ridiculous unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. This league is one of the most self-destructive leagues that's in sports today. And they find ways to screw up their product better than anybody. And if these unsportsmanlike conduct rules continue to take place, I think fans are just about going to riot. I know I am. I'm a defensive guy. I like physicality. I like big hits. Don't legislate this stuff out of the game. It's stupid. So having said that, I could see the NFL doing something really stupid and taking away 2-star players from their teams when all you have to do is just fine them. Nobody grabbed the helmet and swung it. No punches were thrown. These were just kind of like almost like a mosh pit out there, right? And I think that having them tossed for the rest of the game was punishment enough outside of hitting their pocketbooks for some fines.
But at the same time, if you take Evans out, you've got Aaron Rodgers with no wide receivers, and that creates a great, storyline. Well, we're going to make sure Tom Brady doesn't have any wide receivers, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, who truly is the greatest quarterback of all time when they don't have their top receivers around them. Scott, I could not agree with you more, though. I mean, all three of the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, or whatever it's called, the one on Keanu Neal, the one on Levante David, and Levante David, we see him get fired up for games, but in terms of like getting the ref's face, we hardly ever see that. He was yelling at the ref after, which is very uncharacteristic of Levante David. And the last one, this one actually helped the Bucs, but I still think it was a bad call. The Cam Brate hit when he made the catch on third down. Yeah. Obviously some good luck for the Bucs there, but again, I just thought it was a horrible call. Like, listen, these guys are running at full speed. And I said, like, if it was a run play, like if that was a run play to Leonard Fournette and he got hit the same way, they would never even think of calling that. And he was running for a little bit. It's absolutely ridiculous because these guys are going full speed. And if he's standing up straight and you leap and you jump and you hit him in the head, that's one thing. But he's running, trying to get to the first down. He's lowering and moving his body position. It's a moving target. So to say that he went for his head, it's utterly ridiculous. It's stupid. It's asinine. I will not stand for it. It's just so stupid.
Josh, here's the thing. Greg Olson, even in the Fox booth, said, isn't that how they're teaching guys to tackle? Right? I mean, isn't this like the safest way to tackle to avoid injury? It's just embarrassing, is it not?
It's ridiculous. I think two things. Number one, the NFL loves their offense. You're incentivizing offensive players to lower their own heads to draw these types of penalties. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, and I think this is a larger thing, with a multi-billion-dollar product, the fact that refs aren't full-time employees, where you can hold them more accountable, you can give them more training, and create more consistency. Because there was absolutely no consistency in this game. There's absolutely no consistency in almost every game. That's ridiculous. And I honestly think they have got to make this a full-time job, create more accountability, and really improve that side of the product, because it is a part of the product.
Yeah, it certainly was a bunch of crap calls the whole game. I mean, that's from the communist Chinese leader, Xi Jinping. I mean, if he sees it, everybody should see it, right? I mean,
I bet he's got stricter accountability in his football league.
Probably. Listen, we've talked about special teams a little bit, right? From Ryan Succop's perspective, right? Making some real clutch kicks. This was a game where special teams needed to step up. There was a couple of returns that were, a little dicey right in the kickoff return game. Give the Saints credit because they do have some good special teams. But, once again, this Jake Camarda kid, man, he's
inside the 10.
Balling.
Yeah. And again, I know that people wanted punt God right before the draft, or I should say during the draft, right? I mean, obviously Jason Light and the Bucs personnel staff knew what they were doing. They picked the right punter. This kid is legit. He's the real deal. He's from Georgia. He's a national champion. He's used to playing Alabama, a couple times a year, right?
Yeah, he's played in the Superdome before, or whatever it's called now, but he's played in that stadium before.
Whether it's in season, whether it's in the SEC championship game, whether it's in a national championship, this game is not too big for him as a rookie. And again, here's Jason Light getting a starter in the 4th round. It just goes back to good drafting, right? We've talked about O'Keefe being a day 3 steal. I think we're going to see Zion McCollum really come on eventually and be the guy, although he's probably not going to beat out Jamel Dean for some time. But we've seen Cade Otton step up right as a blocker, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. But man, Jake Camarda, this punter, two weeks in, I've been thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, I remember doing some work on him after the draft, because there were so many people like, first of all, we took a punter in the 4th. Second of all, why wasn't it Ariza? And the thing that I came away with is he was such a perfect complement to Ryan Succop, because Succop isn't a long range kicker. You want a punter who can do something even when the offense is driven to, say, midfield, that between the 40s. What can he do? Is it just going to go through the end zone and the other team is now starting at their own 20 and you've really only created 20 to 30 yards of net? With Camarda, he's so good at placing the ball inside the 20 and inside the 10 and creating these really backed up situations for the other team. And he can still, drive a punt. In Dallas, he had one, maybe even 2 over 60 yards. So he's got that perfect complement, but I love that first part of it in terms of he can drop them.
Yeah, and Camarda was effective in multiple ways. He did have the one at midfield where he pinned it inside the 10. There was another one where the Bucs were backed up. He was essentially punting out of his own end zone, and he still got it over midfield, I think back to the 40 or the 30, and the special teams was right there. D. Delaney ended up, friend of the program, D. Delaney ended up, he wrapped him up and everything, but wasn't able to take him down. And then other friend of the program, Pat O'Connor, finished the play and got the tackle. So
it was the Pewter Report punt. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was. It was the Pewter Report punt. Yeah, so Camarda's done really well. The return game, Jalen Darden had a return for 17 yards. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that was great. Casey was losing her mind when that happened.
I know. I mean, the stars are aligning. Jalen Darden is not slipping and sliding. We've got pick sixes from Jameis, but not for the Buccaneers, against the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers are 2-0. They've got the league's top scoring defense, and all is right with the world. The Bucs sit on top of the NFC South. It's been pretty amazing. We're getting some information here from the Bucs locker room. Tristan Wirfs was talking about the fight that happened with obviously Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore round 4, 5, 6, whatever round we're on here, right? But the one thing that he told the reporters after the game that's kind of funny, he said that it's his job to go fish Mike Evans out of the pile during any brawl. He was told that his rookie season by Ryan Griffin to go find Evans after every play and look out for Mike. And there you see Tristan Wirfs grabbing Mike Evans, who wants some more of Marshon Lattimore, and pulling him back. So that's the bodyguard. That's the enforcer right there, right? That's the Secret Service for Mike Evans is Tristan Wirfs, right? Not just personal protector, not just protecting Tom Brady, but also protecting Mike Evans.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You know, you're doing more than just protecting Tom; you're protecting Mike as well. And yeah, I remember I pointed that out on the last year. I'm like, oh, like Tristan Wirfs is in there getting Mike out of there. Because remember, as you see in this picture here, Mike's helmet came off. And listen, I understand you want to fight for your team and stuff. But when you're fighting someone that's wearing a helmet and you're not wearing a helmet, and there's all this pushing and shoving, that could have gotten really bad. God forbid if like a player tripped and fell into Mike and his helmet hits Mike's head without wearing a helmet. So good on Tristan Wirfs. You know, he's an all-pro for multiple reasons. And we're finding out now he's an all-pro teammate too.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, one of the things that could happen, right? Because you see these players. I mean, Josh, you and I were there at Tennessee when Leonard Fournette with a gloved hand, you know, threw a punch to the Tennessee Titans defensive tackle, right?
And Lenny was the one who kind of instigated this one too.
Yeah, he did.
Because up until Lenny got involved, it was Brady and Lattimore jawing at each other. Yeah, and then Lenny comes in and gives the push. Then Lattimore, I think, threw a punch or a pushback, and then that's when, of course, Mike Evans just off the top rope. I'm coming in. Yep. So yeah, Lenny is that guy. You know, he's instigating Lenny.
And the thing is to your point, Matt, about Mike Evans not having a helmet on and why that can be dangerous is all it takes is one punch to your eye, right? And all of a sudden that thing swells shut, right? And then you're out the next week, whether you're suspended or not, because you can't play. I mean, unless they want to put a pirate patch on Mike Evans' eye.
He is a Buccaneer.
He is a Buccaneer, right? He probably could go out there. He makes one-handed catches. He could probably make catches with one eye too. But we're just glad for Tristan Wirfs that Mike Evans didn't get socked in the eye and have to wear a pirate patch next week.
Yeah. One more thing I'm just curious to get your guys' opinion on. As far as the running back room, Giovanni Bernard got hurt on a special teams play, so he was not available. They used Leonard Fournette like a ton. Like there's really only one drive where Rachaad White was, the featured back in the backfield. I'm just curious to get your guys' opinion as we start wrapping up here. As great and important as Lenny is with this offense, I almost feel like they're using him a little bit too much, like this early. Maybe it's because it was a tight game and like you don't totally trust Rachaad White just yet. But I don't know if Lenny can get this amount of snaps, and we'll look at the snap count analysis tomorrow. But I don't know if Lenny can, withhold this for an entire season. Just because of a running back, you're naturally going to get hit all the time. I think I'd like to see a little bit more of Rachaad White. I understand he had that drop early in the game, and Brady was having no nonsense across the board. So it could have been a Tom Brady decision of all right, this guy dropped it, get him out. Keith dropped one, got him out, So but I don't know. I was something I noticed I was curious about.
Yeah, I think that's the case, right? Is you got to have the trust of the coaches and Tom Brady, and the fact that Rachaad White dropped a pass that set up 3rd and 8, right? And then it bogged down that drive. I think that when you only get a couple of opportunities, you got to cash in as a rookie to earn the trust of Tom Brady and this coaching staff. What do you say, Josh?
I would agree, and I think the really interesting thing is, regardless of Giovanni Bernard's status next week, I would expect to see Keyshawn Vaughn dressing.
Yep.
Specifically because I don't think that Rachaad White has earned the trust of Brady and Byron Leftwich yet. And I think I think Brady probably trusts Keyshawn given what he was able to do late down the stretch last year.
He had a great showing in Tennessee when you and I were there, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would look for Keyshawn to actually dress, and then it'll be interesting to see how those snaps break out and whether they can get Fournette off the field a little bit more. And if they do, who's subbing in?
Right, Matt, you're going to do snap counts tomorrow. We're going to get a look at how many plays Giovanni Bernard was out there for. I only counted one. You might
I
have been
know. I was like, when did he get hurt? He hasn't played.
I think it was the second half kickoff return, but
yeah, that's what
he's
it
an old man. And as an old man, I'm older than Giovanni Bernard. I'm 50, right? He's in his early 30s, but I can relate. As somebody who's getting up there, you just don't feel the way that you used to feel when you were younger. That's why you got to go to age rejuvenation.
As we age, our hormones decrease, both for men and women.
I was tired all the time, had no sex drive.
I was groggy.
I felt like I was 80 years old because everything hurt.
I came to age rejuvenation because I was tired all the time.
Bioidentical hormones has really made such an impact in people's lives.
I actually enjoy shopping now.
Got all my energy back.
Mind is sharp.
I feel like I'm 18 again.
It was perfect for me.
Get with Age Rejuvenation. Do it now. Don't wait.
Call Age Rejuvenation today.
Age Rejuvenation, they are not just the sponsor of my SR's Fab 5 column on pewterreport.com. They're also the presenting sponsor of Pewter Report's Tailgate Show, presented by Celsius. Also, guys, if you want to feel better, go to Age Rejuvenation. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex. You might have seen Age Rejuvenation on the Pewter Report Tailgate Show. There's John Gilmore, retired Buccaneer tight end. He joins us each week on the Pewter Report Tailgate Show. He got me on the Age Rejuvenation kick. He is just about to turn 43 this week, and he started to feel sluggish, just like I did a couple years ago. And he told me about Age Rejuvenation, and like John, I am also a client. Thankfully, I don't have any issues in the bedroom, but when you turn 50, folks, energy becomes a problem throughout the day. You drag, you get tired, and you have to have 2 Celsius sometimes when you probably should only have 1. It turns out I had low testosterone when they checked my blood. And like most men in my 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, low testosterone is a problem. It's just nature, fellas. It happens to just about all of us. Low testosterone affects everything from weight loss to energy to stamina. But now there's a way to fight it. That's what I did and John did with testosterone therapy. I have more energy now. I'm more alert, throughout the day. Visit agerejuvenation.com. This would be one of the best decisions you've had if you're feeling sluggish. Age Rejuvenation's got 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex with Age Rejuvenation.
As we wrap things up here, just want to remind everyone that we're going to have another episode tomorrow of Victory Monday, our second Victory Monday of the season. Woo! A lot of Ric Flair discussion today. So we'll be back at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Doing a little more further recap about the game. We'll hear from Todd Bowles again tomorrow. Probably have some injury updates for Donovan Smith, Josh Wells, Giovanni Bernard, and everyone else from the game. But very exciting. Bucs are 2-0. They obviously slayed the Dragon. I guess a lot of people watching House of the Dragon right now, so keeping it topical. But got that streak out of there, finally beating the Saints. And, a lot of exciting things coming up, obviously. So make sure you're following Pewter Report TV. Got a lot of great content. Josh has some awesome video breakdowns, had one of Julio Jones recently. So hopefully Julio is ready to go for the Bucs' first home game. We'll have other content,
We're on our way to 10,000. Thanks to you, Pewter people. We love you guys. We do the show because of you, and we appreciate all the super chats to do today, too. We appreciate your generosity. And we're, like Matt said, we're going to do it again tomorrow. Matt, I got a funny feeling that tomorrow's Pewter Report podcast probably going to be our best ever.
Yeah, I think it definitely has the potential to do so.
Well, for Matt Matera and Josh Capo, we appreciate you joining us here on our post-game edition of the Pewter Report podcast. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Remember, it's Monday. It's Victory Monday. And we're going to do roll call at 4:20.
Roll call.
Where Pewter people at? So we want to see you all tomorrow live on the show. So 4 o'clock Eastern time after Todd Bowles' post-game press conference. We'll have all of the news to recap what happened at One Buck Place and digest this win a little bit more because it's worth savoring, right? So Pewter Report TV, make sure you hit subscribe and like those videos. And for Matt Matera and Josh Capo, I'm Scott Reynolds saying we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.